Welcome to Red's Ramblings, everybody. I have with me today, how you pronounce your name properly?
Omvesh Upadhyay.
Omvesh Upadhyay?
Yeah,
Okay, close enough. You are from Uttar Pradesh over in India, is that correct?
yeah.
All right. And you got with me because I've been trying to, with my podcast, reach out to different cultures from around the world. And obviously India being by far one of the largest and most, oldest in terms of culture and history, wide range of people from every day. Um, you reached out, and obviously I can't leave that whole country out if I'm going to be doing something like this. So definitely appreciate you reaching out, and we getting this thing going real quick. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much, Jamie, for having me in the podcast. My name is Omvesh Upadhyay, and I am an Indian, especially from Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow. I'm a journalism student and currently just exploring life and up with my own podcast show, The Omvesh Show.
All right, well, awesome. And like I said before we started, you just recently had a interview yourself on yours with Lawrence Krauss, and we're going to get into that later at towards the end. Let you plug all your stuff, but I'm pretty sure a good amount of my listeners have listened to him as well. So we'll definitely find that. And I skimmed through a good amount of it to find out some more stuff about you. And again, we'll get into that later. But first off, I want to ask you, how is everything going on over there with all this stuff going around,
Definitely. First of all, we have to know that when there are more people, definitely there will be more chaos, right?
Yes.
So we are 1.25 billion people in the country, living in a very close density. Even if you talk about the emotional closeness, we are very much attached to every person, like our neighbor, and even to a person who lives in our city. And in this pandemic, especially, uh, things are very misorganized. We are the one of the country was Oxford appreciated for the fact that we established lockdown at a very crucial time.
Mm.
But even after that, we just crossed 10 million people suffering from corona. So this is something to be taken very seriously. And I think the government and the people are doing it nicely. But this is it, na? 1.25 billion people is something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. When you get that many people, it's going to be almost impossible to do it correctly. There's no win-win here, and definitely for my country as well. We don't know what the hell we're doing over here. But so thankfully, it seems you're obviously doing okay. Hopefully, your family's all okay as well, and all this going on around there, around the world, really. But give us a quick dive on like the local culture, the modern local culture over there in Lucknow, you said, right?
Yeah. So if I talk about Lucknow and my perspective, I am a 20-year-old. So I can say that I am a millennium, but I belong from a very small town. So I know how the generation was of my father and now I am living. So we can say that there is a much of influence of modernization in the culture, but we are still very deeply rooted to our own cultures, like the festivals we have,
Yes.
rituals we perform, and everything. So we have to pray every time we're gonna eat. This is what I got as we called in Hindi sanskar, the way of my parents and my family brought me up. But as we have to live in the society, so we can't do it much. So we have to balance things.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the big things I was looking at was the festivals that go around over there. And so one of them, if I remember right, is the Holi.
Yeah, the colors.
Explain.
The festival of
Yes,
colors.
yes, yeah. Explain to everybody what that is, because I was looking at it and it looks like fun. It was pretty cool looking for sure. The colors and everything going on. It looked like a pretty entertaining time.
Yeah, so if I have to explain Holi, basically every festival that we celebrate comes from the folklore, some sort of story that happened. That's why after that we celebrate it over joy. but I want to explain it more as what's the main emotion behind it. The core concept is that we are a country of diversity, right? And we have several peoples, but this is something, the colors that bring the aroma that of joy and happiness. So we celebrate with colors, we meet people, we symbolize it like you are different, I am different, but on a celestial level, on a emotional level, we are connected to it because we are humans. So those different colors symbolizes the difference we have, but when we hug them and we play with them with colors, that is that we all are equal and together.
Yeah, that is one thing I'm definitely starting to realize a lot more since doing these episodes with now you from India. The last one was a lady from Serbia. I've done one from Mexico, Ecuador, Australia, over in the UK. And the one thing is, even though obviously we come from vastly different backgrounds, there is still that similarity you can still sense in talking with these people from everywhere. It doesn't matter. You can always find something to, oh yeah, I can completely relate with you in that aspect, totally different yet the same. To go into another festival that I looked at that I watched like 3 or 4 YouTube videos of, because it was just so amazing, was the Kumbh. If I said that right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you are talking about a sort of fair we have that is basically from Hinduism. That is, if I'm not wrong, you know that how big it is. Like
Yes.
millions of people gather there.
Yeah, I looked at one of the videos said, I think it was last year's, the 2019 one, it was regarded as the largest human gathering in the world. 150 million people in one area. And so I had to watch a few episodes of that, and it was just people. And they were in the river where those two rivers connect, the Ganga River, if I say that correctly.
Yeah.
And you're watching everybody like in the river, on the shore, smiles, happiness, people just walking up, like you said, hugging each other.
Yeah, so Kumbh, it is some sort of fair we have in Allahabad. Now it's named at Prayagraj. So where the rivers meet, and it is known as the point where if you bath, if you take the snan, you will go to heaven after you die. So it is very something we could say pavitra in Hindi, very pure and religious to us or to our sentiments. We go there, we wash all our sins there. And that's why this is something that every Hindu follower goes there to wash his sins.
Yeah, one of the funny aspects I watched on one of them was, and I didn't look much into it, so hopefully you can explain it a little bit better. Sadhus.
Yeah.
So I was watching some of that, and the guy who did the video, he was being respectful, but also like some of the stuff he would show it was very funny from an outsider's perspective. Hopefully that no one who listens to this take that as disrespect, because I don't mean it that way. But one thing I want to ask is, what exactly are or is the sadhus, and that the white stuff, like I'm assuming the powder that they're covered in, what is that for?
Okay, so you are talking about sadhus. To explain you this, I could say that they are like monks.
Okay.
Someone who after a lot of prayers and concentration and meditation gained a level of enlightenment at which he detached himself from all physical meanings, like relations, like all the comforts that we have of the technology and everything else, and he just know one person, the God. Then everything else in the world looks to him as worthless. The powder you are talking about, it is actually the assets of death. Yeah, so here in Hindu culture, we burn bodies because we believe that when you burn bodies, they get attached to the land and the people, the nature, and the soul goes to heaven. So those ashes are the powder that they rub on their body. Is that we are attached to ground, to nature, and we are living here, but we are attached to the God. So
I mean,
this
that
is
makes,
something, yeah. So Jamie,
yeah,
this is something to a person who don't know the culture, the stories behind it, some sort of weird thing, but it
yeah.
is something very fascinating to talk about.
I mean, it comes from even just a general knowledge of how the body works, I guess, in decomposition. Because obviously, you said you burn the bodies to show that we're all from the ground and everything, and the soul goes up to heaven. But we all know, even if you were just to bury a body or spread ashes, it fertilizes the soil just the same as, I'm assuming, the ash, in a sense, would fertilize the sadhu's mind or spirit, I guess, right?
Okay, so burning and burying is different. I will tell you how. Because when we burn, some atoms and molecules also get with the air,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we
Correct.
are contributing to the land form of ashes. We throw them in water. After the body gets burned and turned into ash, we throw it in water. So by this, it is going to the soil, to the water, and to the air. Everything that the human body took while he was living. So it is just a medium we tell thank you.
That's a pretty unique way of putting it. I like it. And that was one of the things you said, when they reach that level and become a sadhu, that they strip themselves of all, personal effects and whatnot. Because one of the things I saw was a good fair amount of people just walking around with nothing on. And come from America, you're like, whoa, all right. But that's just the culture. So that was very interesting to see. One of the other things I was looking at, which I love to bring up anytime I'm talking with somebody, is the food. And obviously everyone knows that typically Indian food has a good fair amount of spices. I'm not big on hot foods, but one of the ones I looked up, and I'm probably gonna pronounce these wrong, so help me out here if you can.
Okay.
Galauti kebabs.
Kebabs, if you are talking, it is it non-veg dish?
It says it's minced meat is mixed with spices and baked on a
Definitely.
tava.
Yeah, it is kebab.
Mhm.
For me, I can't tell you it in detail because I am a vegetarian personally.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, but kebabs are is when you mash the meat of a goat, I guess. So this is, I will tell you about the spices that we have. So in the ancient Indian culture, every spice that you eat stimulates the hormones in your body parts. Like if you, for example, if you eat very spicy and hot food, your brain is like some
Yeah,
sort of awakened feeling.
for sure.
Right? The turmeric we use is very antibacterial and anti-inflammatory body.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the spices. Basically, they are some sort of herbs and medicines that the people who researched it put it in our daily food so that we could be very active and all. So kebab is something very Mughlai dish, we can say, with Indian culture that we eat as a non-veg dish. So a very short out Indian dish you can.
Okay. Well, I'll skip the other meat ones I had because I'm not a vegetarian. I don't really like a lot of vegetables. But there was one. It was a dessert. Gujia.
Yeah, gujia. Gujia is a dish that we made. It is a ritual, I could say,
Mhm.
especially for the Holi festival that we talk.
Yes.
So gujia is a sweet dish that we traditionally serve to the guests that we have on the evening of Holi, who
Mhm.
come and meet and greet. So that is basically a sweet dish filled with a lot of dry fruits and sugar, and we say khoya. That is, I could say, basically sugar and
Okay.
a lot of butter and dry fruits that we fill into gujiyas, and that is a sweet dish.
Yeah. It looks pretty delicious for sure. I mean, anything with fruit, I'm down for it. One of the other things I was looking into was obviously over in India, you guys have the Taj Mahal, which a majority of people know about. So I don't really want to get into the Taj Mahal because a lot of people already know about that. But one of the other ones that I looked at was that I didn't know about was the Kashi Vishnawa
Vishwa,
Temple.
Kashi Vishwanath Temple.
Yeah, explain a little bit about that one because I never heard of that one before.
Okay, so I don't know whether you know about it or not, but Banaras is one of the world's oldest city.
Okay.
Yeah, so when the city was formed, basically the Hindu rulers ruled it, and it was named Banaras because earlier in Hindu civilization we only worshipped two types of god. The one was Shiva, the
Yes.
Lord who is the destroyer, we could say in Hindu
Mhm.
ancient mythology, and the second was Vishnu,
Hmm.
the Palanhar we had, who feed us, who see if you are doing right or living not. So Hindu and Vishnu, Shiva and Vishnu. So Banaras is basically the city we call by the name of Shiva. That is also called as Varanasi.
Yeah, I was seeing it's one of it's one of 12. It starts with a JY. What is that, and how do you pronounce that?
So Vishwanath is the god that we worship in the temple. So he's basically a form of Lord Shiva. So it is very sought out temple that we have, that every Hindu follower goes and worship, that we believe that if we pray out there, the Shiva will directly bless us. So this is something very pure to us.
Okay. One of the other things I was looking at in terms of the gods that you have like with Shiva, Vishnu, was because I like getting into urban legends and stuff like that. I couldn't find a lot, or at least maybe I didn't word it correctly when I was looking into it. But y'all do have the cursed river. You know what I'm talking about?
No,
The Karmanasa River.
I don't know if you are pronouncing it right or I don't know about it.
It basically says, in the name of the river means destroyer of religious merit.
No, I don't know about it.
No, all right. Well, apparently is a river made up of saliva, according to the theory. It says that there's a cursed river in India. The cursed river flowing through the heart of Bihar in India. It originates in Kaimur district of Bihar and flows through the Indian states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar along the boundary between Bahadra.
Sonbhadra.
Okay. The villagers believe that the river brings them bad luck, as the name suggests karma, nasa, which means to destroy. That apparently it was a god. Let's see. The great sage uses powers to send his happiness alive, but it wasn't according to the law. So the king of God, Indra, stopped him in mid-sky, but the sage had his self-respect, so he didn't even allow him to return to Earth, and again stopped him mid-air. Thus, the Trishanku got stuck in midair, and his saliva started falling to the ground, resulting in the river named Karmanasa. That apparently, if you got wet in it, like you walked into the river, I guess the opposite of the Kumbh situation, where all your sins are washed away, and everyone loves that. Apparently, in this river, if you get wet or you go into it, you're cursed.
Definitely, because this is a very interesting thing that I got to know from you. There are different type of folklores that we have. So if we have something about this river, that is very special. So thank you so much, Jamie, for this.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always found enjoyable in doing these is I'll look into stuff, and even the person from that country didn't realize it, and so we both end up learning something. So I've always loved that for sure. Parahat tree or Parajat tree.
Parijat tree, okay.
Yes. Apparently that's the tree of heaven or tree from heaven, correct? Explain a little bit about that.
Okay, so I remember an incident, a personal anecdote I could say. I saw every home that have a worship place in our Hindu families, that this is the room of God and all the sculptures of the God and the photos all there. So every time when mom go to Aarti, do you know about Aarti?
I can't say I do know.
Okay. So Aarti is basically we light a flame like a candle with oil, and we do something like that we are worshipping to the god. So every
Okay.
time, twice a day, when my mom do so, I remember an incident when I went in the puja room, that is called puja room. So I went to the room and I saw different types of gods and all that, but I saw a picture of a tree, and I was very amazed as a kid that why we are worshipping a tree. So at that time, my mom said it to me that it is a parijat tree. We see it as a tree that is in India from the time of God, when gods were like roaming on the earth,
Mm-hmm.
and now it is still here. So we worship to the tree that you serve us food,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
you will take care of us, and in that way. So now I remember that incident when you told me about this, and it was something really special because I was amazed by that we worship a tree, but the fact that it involves is really something to think of.
Yeah, I was looking into it, and it seemed I don't have the specific article laid up right now, but something about it's apparently the only tree as well of whatever type of tree it is. Which one I find very unique. You got one tree, and because it's so protected, based off obviously Hindu religion and all that, that they don't even exactly know how old it is, because to do that you have to cut into it, and they're not going to allow that obviously. But it looks it's a very weird looking tree for sure. Not a tree that looks like anything I've ever seen. Maybe like that one they have in Animal Kingdom down in Disney that they made up. Um, but it is definitely a wild, big tree, huge tree. Is that one you've actually been to yourself?
No, I was not there, but I always saw it in different pictures, and
Yes.
especially the one we have in our puja room.
All right, cool. So I want to get now, if you don't mind. So again, I said I looked up a few things before we ended up doing this. And then I found that you had your own podcast and you spoke with Lawrence Krauss, who's big astrophysics scientist, knows a whole lot about a whole lot, right? And I looked into the Indian space program you guys have, right? I was not aware that it had been going on since 1969. And maybe that's the American education. They don't teach us a lot about other countries unless we have
Yeah.
something to do with them. Obviously, we know about the the Soviet Union space program, Russia space program, North Korea space stuff, but I never really looked into the Indian space program. So I'm assuming, because I didn't finish all of your interview you had with Lawrence. Tell us a little bit about what the Indian space program is doing currently right now, because that's pretty interesting to me.
Okay, so before talking about it, I want to thank a scientist that we had in our country who basically boosted the whole movement of Indian Space Research Organization. And
Okay.
he later on became the president of the country. So this is something a very inspiring life journey. But
Mhm.
his name is Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He's no more, unfortunately. But currently, what we are doing, I want to tell what we did is that we sent a mission to Mars, a rover to Mars that we called Mars Orbital Mission. That was of less cost than a movie Hollywood produced named Gravity.
Hold up. So you guys sent a robot to Mars for less money than Hollywood paid to make the movie Gravity.
Definitely. And this was something that surprised the whole world that we are
Yeah.
doing missions in space with 100% accuracy with so much of less budget.
Yeah, here I am listening to that right now, and it's catching me off guard for sure, because I know our space stuff costs billions upon billions, if not way more than the movie Gravity, and you guys did it for a fraction.
Yeah, and I would love to tell you, Jamie, that ISRO sent a mission to Moon, Chandrayaan, that found that there are traces of water on Moon.
Yes.
So this was a very great discovery that the ISRO had.
So I remember reading about that for sure. And you said this, I got it pulled up now, the Chandrahan, right?
Yeah,
So, and yeah, it says found water on lunar water, an abundance of lunar water. So are you trying to say, because I remember when that discovery came about, I don't remember who did it. Are you saying that the Indian space program is the first program to find water on the moon?
practically yes, because there were speculations about it, but we
Yeah,
proved it.
go India. Hell yeah, man. That's that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Um, Chandrahan, does that stand for something?
Yeah. So in Hindi, the language that we use as our mother tongue, in Hindi, Chandra means moon and Yans mean a vehicle. So moon vehicle.
Okay, okay, that's pretty cool, man. I'm looking at it. Apparently, you guys are supposed to attempt another one, the Chandrahan 3, hopefully next year, as long as that doesn't get pushed back. Anything else you can tell me about the Indian space program? Because it seems it's something that you're very into over there as well.
Yeah, because it is a topic in which I'm very much interested in the field of cosmology and all. So the best part about ISRO, I could say, is that we in India we didn't have ever the culture of science and technology because we were very low on our budgets. We have to tackle the education problems, we have to tackle the health problems. But since last 15 years, the growth that ISRO had in field of space is something very significant because we are planning to go to suns near sun and research something about its layer and all the slow solar flares that happens.
Mhm.
So we are planning a lot of things with so much less of budget. And now once a day, I remember when I first got to know about ISRO as a kid, I was like, Russia is launching ISRO's project.
Okay.
ISRO is launching its project with the help of US, but now we had made PSLVs in such less cost with so much of accuracy. I would like to tell you that India and space research program, the ISRO, is the leading space organization with utmost level of accuracy. We barely fail, buddy. And now we are like US and USSR are giving us projects to launch their satellites in orbit. And this is something really very cool. We even have our own geostationary satellite for the GPS location.
Yeah. ISRO is how ISRO has the highest level of accuracy of any other space program in the world.
Yeah, the success ratio.
Well, I doubt Elon Musk is going to hear this. But if Elon Musk hears this, I hope he challenges himself to do better with SpaceX. Because I've been watching a lot of.
Definitely. Yeah,
Go ahead.
even Jamie, recently the Indian government announced that ISRO will be open to commercial organizations so that they can work in collaboration. So this must be heard by Elon Musk then.
I'm about to say if Elon Musk gets in anything with space, which I love everything he's doing right now. He is a weird guy, but he is so far above all of us right now. On that, okay, so I'm assuming then you follow a fair amount of the stuff he talks about in his interviews as well. Do you think, because you said you're 20, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're only 10 years younger than me. Do you think in our lifetime we will have someone from Earth will be sent to Mars and be living there? Do you think that's possible in our lifetime?
I don't think so. Frankly speaking, I don't think so because I followed Stephen Hawking a lot and the research he had. I read several of his books and I quite relate to it. That to do interplanetary travel, for travel, not the civilization,
Yeah.
for the interplanetary successful travel that we do, like the interdistrict travel here on Earth, we have to be 100 years. So we are living in the 21st century. That should be another century later. So Elon Musk is just doing the core. He's making us believe that we could do something like this. And that is really very important. But I don't think so. I could see something like this in my lifetime. Maybe my grandchildren's.
Yeah. I agree. I think the same. It's definitely cool that he's wanting to go out there. What about moon? You think we'd have a base on the moon in our lifetime? That's a lot more feasible, I would imagine. Don't you agree?
I think it would be possible in about 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah, because I think not the civilization, I could say, but probably a place apart from Earth that we have as
Yeah.
a station,
Yeah.
so that we could do more research and more exploration about the universe. So we could, like the scientists that similarly like we are doing in the Antarctica.
Okay. Yeah. So let me quickly back up a tiny bit. You're obviously very well educated and knowledge in the science and other stuff. What is it like? Is there a career you're in right now or you're shooting for in this field?
In the field of cosmology, you are saying it.
Yes.
No, it is just my passion to study
Mhm.
and learn about it.
Okay. So then what is your career then, if you don't mind me asking?
My career is journalism.
My bad. You did say that. Okay, in 30 years, would you ever, because I know, Elon's trying to do the whole commercial, like take regular people into space and like a little vacation or whatever, right? Is that something you would be down for if you ever had the opportunity at some point?
Even if it is one of the top dreams I have in my life to do a commercial space flight in a space,
Yeah.
buddy. So this is why we believe Elon, right? He said that I will make a car that will run on electricity at the top producing company. We never believed it when we first heard it, but now Tesla is doing great. The
Yeah,
same is with
yeah.
Falcon.
You mean the rockets?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when he shot that one and then it came back by itself and landed, and I'm like, how the hell does he do that? Like, how did that do that? It's unmanned, and like that's some movie stuff that we've seen, but I never would have imagined something like that would happen, where it just comes back and lands perfectly fine, ready to go again later. What can this man not do? We need more of him.
Definitely.
You're into journalism, you're into the technologies. I was looking into some other individuals from India who are kind of doing the same thing, not the journalism part, but the technology part. I want to see if you know of any of them, and since you're being a journalist, if you haven't heard of these, maybe you could find and get an interview with them. So I got the one that first leaped out to me because I've heard of the product that he made, and I'm probably saying his name wrong. Gursiram Singh.
Can you please spell it?
Yes, Gursimran.
Okay, Gursimran.
All right, Gursimran Singh. He invented iScribe. Is that something you're aware of?
No, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, well, apparently he was 16 when he invented iScribe, an assistive device that helps the visually impaired experience the joy of reading. Seeing them struggle with voluminous books printed in Braille and the lack of resources led him on a path of innovation. iScribe is a wearable technology that captures images using a camera and produces an audio output using a text-to-speech engine. It was first screened at the Atal Tinkering Lab in 2016 and received a whole bunch of awards, and he's working now on taking his technology to the market. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, if it will help blind people be able to basically know what they're looking at, and from a 16-year-old, that's pretty cool.
When you told me the name, I was not aware of it, but I heard the story that a boy from some place in India invented something like this, and why it is very special. Because when we are talking about to grow as a civilization and to do interplanetary and intergalactic travel, we have to firstly think of us as humans. So we have to look to everyone who is specially able, who is specially able not, and something like that. So it is really very beautiful because even Stephen was specially able.
Yes.
but you know how much he contributed to the society.
Yes, totally agree there. One of the other ones I looked at that was actually from your area, from Uttar Pradesh, in a small town, Shahjahanpur.
Shahjahanpur. Yeah,
Okay, Shahjahanpur. This kid was 14. Naman Tiwari.
I don't know by name.
Okay, apparently he started his journey from a small town of Shahjahanpur in Uttar Pradesh and is now credited with building 22 applications, little phone apps, covering a variety of topics from entertainment and education to malaria detection and security for women. He picked up coding at a young age of 11 as a hobby and learned a whole bunch of languages and mobile app development on his own. Today, 22 of his applications are available on the Google Play Store, and he has 250,000 users in all. He dreams of a future as an entrepreneur, running his own software development company and creating an impact in the lives of people. I mean, that's some cool stuff right there. 14
Really?
years old, 22 apps, malaria detection, education, entertainment, security for women. I mean, at 14, and he's a local. So you might want to look him up at some point, sit down and talk with him, see what he's got going on.
Yeah, and definitely for sure. This is the best part, right? We are with people, the teenagers working in their area of passion with so much of greatness in their hands, and we still don't know them. Why
Yeah.
you know Ankura, why know you Gursimran is that they did something that is global. But we have people with so much of caliber talent here in India. This is the best part, right? We have 65% of youth in our country.
Okay.
That's the first and the most in compared to any country in the world.
Yes.
So this is the great part of having a huge population with this much of young percentage. When we talk about the youths here in India, this is the difference because the media coverage is not much into it. India is always a country of cricket and politics.
Okay.
Either so either you know India by the Bollywood actors we have from Shah Rukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan to the current Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi,
Yes.
or a nation who worship a sport cricket like a religion.
Yeah, I've watched, I think it was on, I don't know if it's shown over in India, but we have in America on Netflix the comedian Hassan Minaj. And okay, and he did a few episodes on Indian politics and I'm going to say, I don't mean disrespect, but the insane love of cricket over there. I mean, like here in America, it's football and really football. That's the main sport really in America. In Europe and all that, it's soccer or their version of football. But in India, it's cricket and it's huge.
Definitely. Talking about the Hassan Minhaj, so sometimes what he do is very brutal for the Indian society because he's very rough and very harsh with his comments that he have. But we're not gonna talk about it. Talking about the cricket we have in our country, it is more like just to tell you a fact. The international organization that we have that looks the cricket for all over the countries have less budget than the Indian Cricket Council have. So this is like the budget of the main country US have more than UN. So it is always like US will dominate UN and something like that. And it's like cricket. We only know sport, outdoor sport as cricket. Every Indian kid played cricket in his childhood. He is very fan of it. Sachin is even a god. We have temples of Sachin Tendulkar, the greatest cricket player we had.
Really?
Yeah, so many people worship him as a god here in India. So this is something very insane.
Hey, I mean, if like for me, I'm a basketball fan, so I'll look at like Michael Jordan. I'm not gonna say necessarily in that level, but we do realize him as easily one of the best players of all time in the sport. And I'm sure there are people that have shrines to the man for sure somewhere around. One of the last things I want to get to that I found interesting, and hopefully you can speak upon it, because I like to find weird things or strange things that you wouldn't necessarily think of when you think of any country. One of the things I found is in India, I think it was more towards Uttar Pradesh, is the kite flyings of kites is really big over there.
Yeah.
Do you know how that came about and what exactly drives that? Because, like we fly kites rarely. Like if we go to the beach, maybe. I remember having one kite as a kid, but it's a real big thing down there. Like y'all have famous shops, famous kite designing and string shops. Explain that a little bit.
Okay, so Jamie, the only American I know who flew kite at a one time is Benjamin Franklin.
Okay. Yes.
But here in India, we love kites. We have celebrities who have a very desperate love to the kites, and they have. So basically, it is a part of tell you that how much we love kites. We even have a festival of kites that we call as Makar Sankranti. So it is a ritual every afternoon of Makar Sankranti. We go onto our terraces on the fields, and everyone comes with their beautiful kites, some sort of messages in it. And there's a place in Gujarat. It's called Kutch.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Kutch, it is basically a desert of salt. Once it's the part of the sea, but now it's completely barren. So people go there, and from all over the India and the world, they come there to see the beauty of the festival. And we have kites as big as some mansions flying in the skies with thousands of kites, and we just flew them. And I don't know the logic behind it, but surely the joy. Most of the festivals that we have in India is about to get derailed from the daily frustration and the daily rush you have in your life, and just to celebrate the fact that you exist.
Mm.
So this is something really, really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I've seen a few pictures of it, and like you said, some of the kites are bigger than my house, bigger than like you said, actual buildings and whatnot. But that's something I never would have thought of, that a country or an area in Uttar Pradesh that's such a big aspect of the culture is flying a kite. Like here in America, I don't think you necessarily would have. I don't think we have something like that I can think of particularly. I mean, like we do fireworks on festivals. Obviously, we have music, but there's no unique aspect to it. A kite flying festival is a very unique part of the local culture there, which I learned about today. And it's always cool, like I said, to learn about new things, new people. So I've definitely enjoyed all of this so far. Again, I told you I wanted to end on you more talking about what you have going on, because you have your podcast. So tell a little bit about, I'll give you the final words here before we end this. Tell a little bit about what you have going on. You're a journalist, so are you working on something that possibly we could read here coming up?
Okay, so talking about the podcast that I have, basically I try to engage with achievers from various fields in it. I try to do candid conversations, because most of the time when you know a particular celebrity or a person who is a very successful person, you only know about the fact that they have the articles in media, they have on their social media, but you never know what they think. And in evening when they sit on their couch and just seeing the beauty of nature, what was the struggle behind their journey? What was the biggest learning they had? So I try to do that in it. And till now I interviewed some really big people in it. So this is something very close to my heart. I will always cherish the conversation. And this is basically a self-help program that I had, apart from the fact that what I do for as a mental health advocate, what I do as a journalist, and what I do as a person in my general life. So I combined all of this in the Omvesh Show. And talking about the future of it, I'm trying to do a project as PIP 101. That is Polymath in Process 100. To become a polymath, it will be a beginner's guide. I will talk about Ikigai, the Japanese concept of happiness. I will talk about Stoicism, the concept of to get rid of detachment and from society, immaterialistic things. So it will be like psychology and a lot of things to talk about.
Well, I mean, hell, listening to all that, I could see. I'm sure you have a extremely bright future over there. At just 20 years old, interested in all this, a wide range of topics. So hopefully, all that works out for you, man. I've enjoyed talking with you, learning a little bit. Hopefully, you learned a little bit as well. As you can see, not all Americans are arrogant. You know, some of us are open-minded and are looking to learn more and see the world and all that kind of stuff. So don't think of us all like that if you do. Don't know if you do. But I know going on right now, that's probably what a fair amount of the world sees in us. We're not all that way. But I appreciate you, taking the time. I know we had a few back and forths on time scheduling this, but I thank you for sticking around, and I appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I must compliment you for the fact that the research you had, that was very, very deep. To just go on internet and do a very deep research about someone else's country and and the culture. So it was really great. I learned a lot. I even got to know about the Karmnasha River that you told. So
There you
it
go.
was really a learning experience for me. And just to tell you a part that how we generalize people, how we know about them, like you said, that the arrogant part of of the American culture, or just the no idea part of the Indian culture. So this is it. We are breaking the stereotype and redefining the culture. So thank you so much for having me.
No problem, Omvesh, man. I appreciate it. Hopefully I just said your name right. If I did, my bad. I'm sorry. But you take care of yourself. I know it's getting late for you over there. It's morning for me. I'm about to go have me some breakfast. You take care of yourself, man.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great time to be.
No problem, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.